Last winter, the FBI was praised for its speed in cracking the case of the World Trade Center bombing and bringing 4 suspects to trial. Now, there is some evidence that the FBI may have known of the plot in advance through an informant and might even have stopped the bombing that killed 6 people. Correspondent Jacqueline Adams has the story.
FBI agents might have been able to prevent last February's deadly explosion at New York's World Trade Center. They discussed secretly substituting harmless powder for the explosives, but they didn't, according to the FBI's own informant, Imad Salem. Unbeknownst to the FBI at the time, Salem recorded many of his conversations with his handlers. Kutzler confirmed newspaper reports of the Salem transcripts. In one, Salem complains to an FBI agent, "Since the bomb went off, I feel terrible. I feel bad. I feel here is people who don't listen." The agent replies, "Hey, I mean, it wasn't like you didn't try and I didn't try. You can't force people to do the right thing."
At issue increasingly for some of the victims and their families, what did authorities know or suspect before the explosion that federal workers and the children arriving at the Murrow building did not know or were not told? Other documents obtained by 2020 show that someone called the Executive Secretariat's office at the Justice Department in Washington and said the Murrow building had been bombed. But this was 24 minutes before the blast. No action was apparently taken.
Released a report today condemning the FBI crime lab for mishandling evidence and for slanting its analysis. The report is expected to specifically criticize the lab's handling of the Oklahoma City and World Trade Center bombing cases. It was the allegations of FBI whistleblower Frederick Whitehurst that sparked that investigation.
The FBI laboratory has billed itself for many, many years as the premier forensic laboratory in the world. The people that did the things they did knew doggone well what they were doing.
Why the people in the Murrow building were killed. As I said, I don't know if they intended it or it just got away from them. God, I hate to think that they did it on purpose.
What we found out between the hours of 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. that morning, he was brutally murdered a mile and a half from the front gate of the El Reno Penitentiary. From that moment that his body was found, we know that the crime scene was destroyed. There were spade shovels that were used to turn over the crime scene, ballistics, any gunpowder residue, anything that had to do with his death was completely destroyed. It was corrupted.
He started having problems with it, not only at work, but his apartment got broke into, his car got broke into, things were stolen out of his house. He had accumulated reports, evidence, I don't know what all, but he was going to take it out to a mini storage in El Reno. And he left one night, and he told a friend of his that they were going to go out to dinner. He says, "I got to run out and put some stuff in mini storage, and as soon as I shake these feds that are following me, I'll be back and we'll go to dinner." Well, he never came back.
I was told by an agent, an FBI agent, that due to comments that I'd made, that people like me often ended up dead. You need to be careful what I said. I was him, and in the way that he put it forth, I felt like it was a threat.
And that we will in fact find weapons or evidence of weapons programs that are conclusive.
I don't think we'll discover anything myself.
It appears that there were not weapons of mass destruction there.
You said you knew where they were.
I did not. I don't know anybody that I can think of who has contended that the Iraqis had nuclear weapons.
And we believe he has, in fact, reconstituted nuclear weapons.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. You do not know what you are talking about. Okay, you get
NIH,
one person.
Let's read through the NIH definition of gain-of-function. This is your definition that you guys wrote. It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among animals is gain-of-function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain-of-function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic. No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It is molecularly.
Those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That is
you can't
not.
get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
Olympic gymnastics superstars, including Simone Biles and Aly Raisman, are testifying in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The hearing is examining how the FBI failed to respond to allegations of sexual abuse against former USA Gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze reports from Washington.
A blockbuster hearing on Capitol Hill.
The hearing will come to order.
Star gymnasts Simone Biles, Michaela Maroney, Maggie Nichols, and Aly Raisman giving emotional testimony about how they were sexually abused by former USA Gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar.
To be clear, I blame Larry Nassar, and I also blame an entire system that enabled and perpetrated his abuse.
Nassar was sentenced to up to 175 years in prison in 2018 for molesting hundreds of gymnasts.
What is the point of reporting abuse if our own FBI agents are going to take it upon themselves to bury that report in a drawer? They had legal, legitimate evidence of child abuse and did nothing. If they're not going to protect me, I want to know, who are they trying to protect?
Senators are now asking how the FBI overlooked these painful accusations and bungled its investigation into Nassar.
The FBI had two separate opportunities to do its job, and it failed.
In a scathing report in July, the Justice Department Inspector General found FBI agents failed to respond with the urgency required once they learned about the allegations in 2015. The report said FBI agents then tried to cover up their mistakes.
The agency's failures allowed a sexual predator to continue to abuse more than 70 young women. That is inexcusable.
FBI Director Christopher Wray also testifying. He was not in charge of the agency at the time of the investigation, but the FBI has said its handling of the case was appalling.
The actions and inaction of the FBI employees detailed in this report are totally unacceptable.
Farmer says she reported the assault to the FBI, but she told us it wasn't for another decade, just before Epstein's first arrest in 2006, that an agent finally appeared at her door. Farmer says they never followed up.
They still haven't asked to talk to me. They are trying to pretend I do not exist. That's right. I want my report, and I want it printed out so I can show everyone how much they failed.
November 1988, Nebraska's state government set up a parallel investigation into the Franklin financial collapse. But the money trail led quickly to the original allegations of child abuse, and almost immediately, anonymous threats began.
I received a phone call on the floor of the legislature. The caller did not identify himself, but he said, "Lauren, you do not want to have an investigation of the Franklin Federal Credit Union." And I asked who I was speaking to, and they said, "That doesn't matter, but you shouldn't have that investigation." And I said, "Well, why not?" He said, "It will reach to the highest levels of the Republican Party, and we're both good Republicans."
It's a web of intrigue that starts in our Holy of Holies, Boys Town, Nebraska, one of the most respected institutions in the United States, and spreads out like a spider web to Washington, D.C., right up to the steps of the nation's capital, the steps of the White House. Involves some of the most respected and powerful and richest businessmen in this United States of America. And the centerpiece of the entire web is the use of children.
Troy Bonner was brought in for questioning by the FBI.
The FBI's attitude was, just no, these kind of things don't happen. From the first interview when I went, and realized they don't believe the fucking thing I've seen, they are.
They treated the allegations that I made about people who abused me almost like a joke.
I was very disappointed with the way the FBI and law enforcement treated the victims. They, in fact, turned them into the offenders, so to speak. And instead of taking the evidence that was delivered to them by the victims and interrogating the persons whom the victims identified, they seemed to bear down and try to get the victims to change their story.
Alicia Rowan was 15 when she attended her first party.
Those of us that didn't like to be involved, and didn't want to be involved, were friends.
My fears are that, I'm not going to be believed again. It's just, going to be a whole other kind of exploitation like it was last time. And afraid that that's going to happen, or, I might end up dead, or a loved one might end up dead again. I want this to go forward and have something done so that all those other kids who are a lot worse, more worse things have happened to can come forward and say that action can be taken, because there are a lot of other kids out there that, you know, things happen to them that, you know, a lot worse than happened to me.
You have to, if you want to protect yourself, your life, and your family's life, both now and particularly in the future, is to use the institutions of government that have been set up to protect you and make them work. That means you go into federal court, you go after the people that have done this cover-up, and you expose it so there's no longer any percentage on their part in eliminating you because the secret's out.
That's why we're here today, to let it out.
I have no doubt that he's now telling the truth, number one, and number two, that he originally told the truth. Potentially, they could decide to charge him with perjury, because now he is telling that they forced me to lie. I did lie at Alicia's trial. I did lie before the grand jury. I did it because the authorities were forcing me to do it. I was scared for my family. My brother had been killed when I tried to back out the one time. Potentially, they could charge him with perjury this time.
Alicia Owen is out of prison and on bail, while the camp appeals against her perjury conviction.
You literally have to have bricks for brains to take on the FBI in this country. And that's exactly what you have to do this properly. Obviously, the FBI was protecting something a lot more significant. Every victim witness who stepped forward in any way, or even was a potential witness that somebody heard about, has either been killed, put in jail under some theory or other, terrified or run out of the state, discredited. Every perpetrator, even the convicted ones, have been treated as conquering heroes.
Retired special agent for the FBI. His name is Arthur Murtaugh.
And he said, I know you're right, and I know that what you're saying is of good principle and so forth, and I admire a man of good principle. But he said, you've got to make up your mind that we don't have any place for people of principle in the FBI. And you're either going to have to give up your principles or get out of the FBI.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. And the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull. And then we watched the building